Kids with the pumped up kids, you wanna run and round faster than my body. Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to Roma Theory. How is everybody doing? Bologna away tomorrow. What a very complicated game we have. But what a crucial game that we have to ultimately change our season. Tomorrow's game, I think, will tell us if we have officially changed path and we're onto something, or if it's just the classic Roma who get hyped after a win and get back losing after getting hyped up. I think tomorrow's game tells a lot. I think tomorrow's game tells a lot on the mentality of these players. Tomorrow's game tells a lot on the condition of these players and ultimately what these players want to achieve this season, and if they've got the balls to achieve something despite a terrible first half to it. I'm very excited for it. I'm a bit nervous. I always tend to say this in these match previews, but I would not be surprised if we lose tomorrow. It would just define Roma perfectly if we lose tomorrow. It just would. It'd be the classic Roma performance to win a derby and then lose to Bologna the following weekend. Not that it's going to be easy to win. In fact, I think it will take a masterclass tomorrow to beat Bologna. We'll speak about them in a second. It's not going to be easy at all. I think it's going to be very complicated, which is why even in these complicated games, complicated tests, we got a draw in Milan. We won the derby. And now away at Bologna. Can we get something? Can we pull something? I've got a lot of questions regarding tomorrow's game. A lot of certainty questions. And yeah, I mean, let's speak about it. I'm ready. I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to try and get something in Bologna tomorrow. But how is everybody doing? First of all, don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't already. Remember, 100 likes on this video and the challenge is complete. And of course, if you hit the like button, Roma will win tomorrow. That's the call. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Do let me know in the live chat if the microphone is doing any weird sounds like it sometimes does. And yes, hello to everybody in the chat, hello to everybody in the video, and hello to everybody who's going to watch this later on. Yeah, we have a few questions. We'll get to questions in a second. I can already see what's your favorite food. That's too hard. That's too hard of a question. Sushi. My favorite food is sushi. To keep it Italian, I'd probably have to go with either carbonara or amatriciana. But yeah, overall it's sushi. It is. But right, look, one quick thing that I want to mention. Of course, answering to another question in the live chat, which is why isn't there away fans for Udinese and Bologna? Now, I think this decision coming from the Serie A institutions is abysmal. It's ridiculous. Once again, it shows to you how bad these institutions and how bad this league is run by people who really have got no clue of what they do. I was supposed to be in Bologna tomorrow. And thank God I've basically been the fans who got the ticket for tomorrow's game got their money back. But now this doesn't involve me because I would have gone to tomorrow's game with my father driving. But to all those people who got a train ticket tomorrow and spent quite a lot of money for a train ticket, and these idiot institutions tell that the away fans can't travel to Bologna 24 hours before the game, 48 hours before the game. I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. There are not going to be away fans in tomorrow's game and in Udinese away. I mean, there are going to be away fans. It's basically forbidden for people who live in the region of Lazio. So if you live in Rome or in a region of Lazio, you can't travel. It's a ridiculous decision. It's absolutely ridiculous to, number one, come across this decision, because this decision is coming after derby fights. Well, I was at the stadium last Sunday during the derby, and I can confirm that there were no fights. Normally there are fights in a derby. This time round, there were no fights. All the fighting was stopped by the police. So it's not justifiable that you're backing this excuse saying that it's to punish the fans because there were fights for the derby. There were no fights in this derby. And number two, you cannot decide this 48 hours before the game. What happens to all those fans who spent 150 euros to buy a train ticket? It's just absolutely ridiculous. If you come up with these decisions, you come up with the decisions with time, not 48 hours before a game. I was planning to go tomorrow, and I would have been there, but I've been forbidden to go. We've been forbidden to go because of an absolutely, once again, poorly run football organization, institutions, incompetent at its best. Right, going back to the game. Bologna or a new. I'm not going to call them a revelation because last season they qualified for the Champions League. Bologna, if they continue like this, if they continue following this tangent, will slowly become one of those teams which will be included in kind of the new entries of big clubs. Again, Bologna aren't a big club, but if they continue along this dimension, there's going to be Bologna included in top 4 debates, top 5 debates, European qualifications, European spot debates. They know what to do on the pitch, and they know what to do outside of the pitch and how to run a football club. I've already said how Bologna are a perfectly run football club, also because of Sartori, the guy that we were speaking about yesterday. So Bologna have started something which is very successful and which is bringing a lot of benefits. Now, the majority of people look at Bologna of last season and go, the Bologna of last season was a surprise. What a surprise it was. The Bologna of this season won't get in the Champions League. And I agree. I don't think Bologna will qualify for the Champions League this season. But I don't think there is a massive difference between Thiago Motta's Bologna and Vincenzo Italiano's Bologna this season. In fact, the numbers show to you that they basically have the same amount of points after 19 game weeks, with one game in hand at home against Milan. If you add in consideration the fact that Italiano also plays the Champions League, Thiago Motta only had one game per week, they are doing terribly in the Champions League. But again, it's understandable. It's new to them. And also consider the fact that this Bologna doesn't have a phenomenal, fit, on-form Zirkzee and a Riccardo Calafiori on the bench. I think Italiano's job at Bologna, I was saying this in the last match preview, when we spoke about Bologna, I think it's underlooked. I think a lot of people don't look at Bologna this season just because they've got the image of Bologna qualifying for the Champions League last season. But I think Bologna this season are equally as dangerous. They might be less scenographic because now everybody is used to Bologna playing well after last season, but they are definitely as efficient. And in fact, look, they only lost one game at home. They only lost one game this season at home, and that game was the last game against Verona. Out of surprise, they lost the game. And every single time they play at home, they've scored at least one goal. They've scored at least one goal, apart from one game. It was back in September, 0-0 at home against Parma. This is a team which at home grinds points. This is a team that at home a lot of people struggle against. A lot of teams struggle against. They've only lost one game and they've scored in every single game at home apart from one. I don't think tomorrow a win for us is that scripted. I really don't. I think it takes... And even you need to remain. If you play like you played the derby, I think you can win. But this is where my questions come tomorrow. Can you play like you played the derby? How many times have we seen a good performance and hoped for us to continue with it and then get disappointed? That's my only fear tomorrow, because if tomorrow, again, concentration is key when you speak about Roma, but if tomorrow you play less, with less intensity, if you drop down a bit, oh, I've won the derby, let me relax a bit, the fans will be happy, the fans won't be mad at me because I won the derby, that's where you lose tomorrow's game. Adding on to that, Bologna play with a 4-2-3-1. Very wide wingers. They press a lot. Remember Italiano at Fiorentina as well. Italiano at Bologna and Italiano at Fiorentina. His teams are very threatening. They score many goals. They press high. Their defenses, Italiano's defenses, are always a bit chaotic. And that's why you can score goals tomorrow. But you need to be careful defensively. You need to track back. Bologna asphyxiate you. I think Bologna, there are a few teams in this area which play to asphyxiate their opponents. When I mean asphyxiate, I mean high intensity, high press, quick transitions. Atalanta and Bologna are the two teams which come to my mind, which do this very well. So tomorrow's game is a very complicated game. Adding on to that, of course, Bologna will want to hope in their in their Champions League hopes. I don't think they'll qualify for the Champions League, but they can qualify for the Europa League. They can qualify for the Conference League. There's high chances that they will, but they can push higher. Remember, they have a game in hand. Juventus is currently playing. What's the score? Juventus, are they that good? 1-1 against Torino. Juventus is draw. That they are draw merchants. Bologna can exploit all of these. Fiorentina collapsing down a bit. Lazio collapsing down a bit. You know, tomorrow's game for Bologna is as important as it is for us, because it means closing the gap for big positions, proving to the world that, hey, I'm Italiano. Look at me as well. Everybody was looking at Bologna when Thiago Motta did this. You know, why aren't people looking at my job? I'm doing the same exact thing. So it's also a way for Italiano to prove himself. So tomorrow's game is complicated. Tomorrow's game is hard. I expect a very balanced game. I expect us to concede. And therefore, if you concede a goal, you have to score two. So very equal game. We'll see what happens. A win tomorrow would be golden. A win tomorrow for me would be a 6-pointer. We'll speak about us in a second, but you get the point. Not an easy game. In terms of individual players, I like 3 of their players. I like Belkema, composed defender. I like Ndoye, the Swiss guy, very fast. It's going to be a great duel between him and Salamakers. And then, of course, Orsolini. And then Castro. Castro is interesting. Castro is an interesting player. He's, again, similar to Paredes and similar to many Argentinian players and South American players. He's got that South American spirit and charisma. So, yeah, I like him as a player. He's somebody that I would consider to buy also in the near future. But that's Bologna. It's not going to be easy, but you have to pull the fight, and we will be ready for war once again. Moving to us. Now, of course, the last time we faced Bologna, everybody will remember. The last time we faced Bologna, it was probably the bottom of the bottom of our season. In fact, yes, I'd say that the defeat against Bologna in the first round, which was basically almost 2 months ago, the Bologna game was the apex of our crisis. Of course, it led to Juric being sacked. I remember going to that game, and I remember the performance. I remember the Curva Sud abandoning the ground after like 60 minutes. It was a terrible game. The last time we played against them, they beat us 3-2, 4-2. What was the score? El Shaarawy scored a brace. But it was very different times. We're a different team. We are a newly revitalized team, and I expect a reaction from these boys. Again, post-derby reactions are always a question for me. Can you continue? Can you give a sense of momentum? I hope so, but I'm not that convinced, because how many times, as I said before, were we so hyped up and enthusiastic and then get so disappointed by a bad performance? Of course, the derby helps. Of course, the derby helps you mentally, but it's not going to be enough. You know, you can't base the fact that you've won the derby, oh, I'm going to automatically win tomorrow even if I switch off. No, you're going to lose if you do that. So heads up, focus, because tomorrow's game is equally as important as the derby and equally as complicated as the derby. Predicted 11 is this. My predicted 11 is this. Classic. I'm not changing it. I'm not changing it. Why would I change it? Like, look at me in the eyes. Why would I change it? It played a great game against Parma. It scored 5 goals against Parma. It pulled a dominant performance in Milan, which again, I would have much rather a win in Milan, of course, and we could have gotten those 3 points very easily. But we pulled a dominant performance in Milan with it, and we won the derby with it. Why would I change it? Like, I'd have to be a lunatic for changing a starting 11 which is working. You'll say the players are going to get tired. Yes, but it's exactly why now that you're playing only 1 game per week, now that the Europa League and the Coppa Italia haven't restarted, use it. Use it when you can, as much as you can. So these are the times where if you can give a sense of confidence to the players, it's these moments. So I'm not going to change it. Why would I change it? It's the same exact one that started against Lazio. I'm insisting on Pellegrini because you have to insist on him after he scored a goal in a derby. After he released a very good interview this morning, I read it, and it's the word to describe the interview is honest. Read it. I know if it's in Italian, you'll find some websites which translate it. Put it on Google Translate. It's an honest interview. And yeah, it's an honest one. I like the interview that he released. Ranieri said it post-match. I'm starting to see the light back in his eyes. Always very poetic when he speaks. Not picking Pellegrini after he released this interview, after the manager is slowly seeing something back in his heart, in his soul and in his eyes, after he scored a goal, and what a goal, against their biggest rivals. Not picking him, in my opinion, would be crude. Not picking him would be crude and rude. So I put Pellegrini tomorrow, and hopefully that ecstasy from the derby can give him something in tomorrow's game as well that can win us the game. Again, 3-man defense because it's solid. 4 in the middle. I'm insisting with Paredes and Kone, of course. Salamakers and Angelino. Salamakers, of course, played at Bologna last season, knows them very well. Salamakers needs to mark Ndoye. Ndoye's a good player. Ndoye's a good player. He's a fast player. He knows Salamakers very well, so it's going to be a good duel. And look, he's scoring many goals. He's contributing to many goals. Salamakers is on fire, knows Bologna well. I wouldn't mind a sneaky goal or assist for Salamakers tomorrow. And then, of course, Dybala, Dovbyk and Pellegrini up front. That's my predicted 11. That's my standard predicted 11. If there's a doubt in that predicted 11, it's Pellegrini. Because Pizzilli could start and El Shaarawy could start. But yeah, I think you need to go with Pellegrini after such a game, after such a confident boost. And of course, if Pellegrini doesn't turn up tomorrow, you have 2 subs who can be deadly subs, Pizzilli and El Shaarawy. But that is my predicted 11 for tomorrow's game. Again, last comment on the game, I expect goals. I expect an open game. I expect gaps tomorrow. I don't expect 2 teams which, for kind of the fear of losing points, are going to draw a game. I can see a draw tomorrow, but if it is going to be a draw tomorrow, it's going to be an open draw. When I mean an open draw, I mean 1 goal, other goal, 1 goal, other goal. I don't expect closed defenses tomorrow because these are 2 teams which will want to win. And when 2 teams want to win, they're going to open up, they're going to leave gaps, and goals will come. So I expect a few goals tomorrow. On both sides, 2 defenses, 2 not perfect defenses. Again, Our three-man defense is way more confident than it is if it's a four-man defense without Hummels. But still, it's not a perfect defense, but neither is Bologna's. Italiano's defense. Remember, Italiano lost the Conference League with Fiorentina against West Ham because his defense, he was playing a high line at 0-0. No, sorry. He was playing a high line when the score was 1-1 at the 90th minute. I mean, I will never forget that moment. I will never forget that moment, which proves to you that Italiano's defenses are not terrible, but not perfect. When you lose a game, a final, and thus a trophy in the 90th minute, injury time, because you're playing with a high line and a counter-attack, you have some problems in defense. And that's why it's going to be an open one, and hopefully goals will come. Right, let me read a few questions. Thoughts on Kvara leaving? It's an interesting topic. Not that I care, but it's an interesting one. I think it's selfish. It's selfish, 100%, very selfish, because you don't leave a team. In number one, I stick with the idea that no big player leaves a club in January. No, you don't do it. You don't do it. Adding on to that, Napoli are first. They could win the league title, and their best player all of a sudden dips out of the conversation. I think it's selfish. You're looking at the money, and of course, money is now football is now money. He's gonna earn 5 times the salary that he earns in Naples. So again, of course, you have to look at the selfish part. I think it's a selfish move. I think it's a risky move for Napoli because it could blow up their league title hopes. Again, I expect a big replacement because the money that they're going to earn is massive. So I expect a big replacement coming in, but it's going to take time for the new replacement to adapt. And, you know, when you're that far up and you don't have much points ahead of the other competitors in such a competitive league, you don't have much time to waste. So it could ultimately be the fatal blow for Napoli's title hopes. But other than that, I mean, I think with Kvara, I always tend to stick the word. I might be crazy, and you might call me crazy, but I've always seen Kvara as a tiny overrated player. Because Kvara was perfect, incredible, phenomenal the year they won the league title, but that's because nobody knew who he was and nobody knew how he played. So he was so unpredictable. In year 2, last season, and this season as well, what has Kvara done? Kvaratskhelia always does the same thing with the ball beneath his feet. Always does the same thing. He is probably the most repetitive football player that I have seen in the last 5 years. Defenders start knowing how to mark you, which is why he's less prolific and less efficient and scores less goals. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think Kvaratskhelia is worth 80 million. He's not worth 80 million at all. I think an unfit, I said this on the fan forum today, an unfit, on-form Rafael Leao is a better player than an unfit, on-form Kvaratskhelia. And you know what I think about Leao. Overrated. But a fit Leao, in my opinion, is deadlier than a fit Kvaratskhelia. So, that's what I think. I think he'll revive his career in PSG and will be the main man. What's your favorite food? Oh, you already answered that. You know what? Favorite food though? Try this. It's got nothing to do with favorite food. But I came across the TikTok. You know the cucumber viral TikTok video of the guy basically like eating a cucumber with all the sauces, soy sauce and everything. And he goes, sometimes it's just time to eat an entire cucumber. It popped up on my TikTok and I was like, I need to try this because it looks so good. And I tried it today and it's good. Try it. It's good. Search cucumber viral video up and make it and it's good. What did you mean? Simo, what did you mean by you had never heard about Spinazzola? He has been in Rome since 2019. What? I've never heard of Spinazzola. What does that mean? How come Lazio fans aren't banned? Lazio fans are banned as well, but they were playing at home yesterday, so it doesn't count. But their next 2 away games will be banned too. Tomorrow's going to be tough, but if the players are focused, I'd say that we have a chance to get the 3 points. They have to be very focused, in my opinion. Hello, Simo. Strongly believe that we are going to the right direction under Sir Claudio. We will definitely beat them. We can definitely beat them, and Pellegrini will score again. I like the confidence. If Roma can show strength from the left side, similar to what we showed against Lazio, we can pressure. Otherwise, we just continue to rely on Dybala and Salamakers and we'll get out-pressed. Good point. I love the interview about Pellegrini. Only Zalewski and Angelino are not good enough to create pressure for left side. I had a dream where Bologna scores first and early. Not a great dream. I think we'll win 2-1. I have a feeling that Roma will have a good winning streak and again finish the season at Europa spot. I mean, if Ranieri brings us to Europa League via the league, it's a miracle. It's a football miracle. Yeah, I think it's still very unlikely. You do have a few teams fumbling up, losing a bit of fuel. Lazio, Fiorentina, maybe Atalanta. Atalanta won't collapse, but I'm speaking about their league title hopes. I still think Inter will win it. I still think Inter will win it. I still think Inter are the best team. But yeah, I mean, look, if you want to try and get Europa League, you got to win tomorrow. It's not even a question. So, if you lose tomorrow, Bologna is going to build a gap, and they also have a game in hand. So, if you have any hopes of European spots via the league, tomorrow's a win. Tomorrow you need to win, and tomorrow you must win. Otherwise, you got to go all in Europa League, which I still think is the easiest route. I would be mad if we don't get Europe. I really would. I'd get mad. I'd get mad because, yeah, I'd get mad. From a fan point of view, I'd be mad because there's something about European games that other games don't give you. As a content creator point of view, I would hate it. I would hate it. Imagine a full year of not traveling the world following your football club. Like, I have so many stadiums, European grounds, European games that I would love to see my team play in. And not playing in Europe, that's why I understand people who don't want Conference League. But part of me still wants it. Part of me still wants it. Adventures. That's what it's all about. But again, I get the point. We'll see what happens. Big game tomorrow. Gotta try and win. Absolutely. What do you think the score will be at the end of the match? I think it's gonna be 2-1. But I can't tell you what side it's gonna be. I see a 2-1 tomorrow. I think it's a 50-50 chance of a 2-1 Bologna or a 2-1 Roma. I just can't feel where this 2-1 is pending. Is it a 2-1 or a 1-2? I don't know. Can't tell you. We'll see. We'll see tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see tomorrow. Right, I'll catch you tomorrow. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Remember, 100 likes would be great. Please hit the like button. It takes 2 seconds. It's free and it would support this channel and video a lot. Get your friends to subscribe. Even if you're not watching live, I'm speaking to you. Yes, you. Hit the like. Subscribe. Talk to you soon. Simo out.